All right, so now we're going to take a look at laying out the floor plan. Let's start first with some construction lines. You could use your step-by-step tutorial here, what I have in front of me, to guide you. We'll lay out these construction lines, and then we'll start with the base wall first, and then come back and trace over it with the finish wall. Then I would recommend you go ahead and do the openings. So this is what I will be looking at as we continue. Okay, now take a look at your layers, and if you scroll towards the top here, you should see some layers above layer 0. You'll notice that you're welcome to create any additional layers that you need to organize your model, but you may find all the layers that you need are already there. Just to show you, you can see I use XL for construction line. We have exterior and interior. And by using that $sign, any symbol actually, it'll bring that layer above layer 0. Okay? So if we start with this construction line layer here, and then again referring to your tutorial there, you can see all of the dimensions. Now if I zoom out, you should see your UCS. Now since we're going to be using layouts for our presentation, we don't have to define the drawing limits or anything like that. But I always like to make the origin the bottom left-hand corner of the floor plan. So that's always a great starting point. So here's what I'll do. Start with construction line. Let's start with a vertical one. We'll set it at the origin, and then we'll create another one horizontally and set that also at the origin. So you can see I'm using absolute coordinates here. Now, with just these two construction lines, I can lay out the rest of the floor plan. If you take a look at your dimensions, let's start from the outside building in. So we got an overall distance of 28 feet. Just using offset, 28 is the value from left to right. Okay? Now also, you'll be able to use your measure tool here as you continue to validate your dimensions. You can see there we've got 28 feet, right? Now, going from the bottom up, I got another 28 feet. So I can offset once again. You can see there's the default value. Take this bottom line, offset it towards the top. All right. Now, with this information, we can go ahead and start creating the multi-lines. Always think about what you're going to do and what layer you're doing it on. The next thing I want to do here is switch layers. I'm going to switch here to the A wall exterior layer, and now I can go to my draw panel, take a look at your multi-line style manager. Here you can see the multi-line styles that we created earlier. I'm going to double click to make current the exterior base wall multi-line style there. I'll click OK. Come back to the draw panel, and since you're going to be working here quite a bit, use the pin to keep this open. All right. Use multi-line, and now as I begin, right, let's go over here to the corner. You can see here I can snap using midpoint. Now you'll notice if I go in this direction, this is going to be the correct layout. However, if I go in this direction, you can see based on my current justification, I'm making this much wider than it actually is. The dimensions that I have laid out there is from exterior to exterior. So just pay attention to that if you're not going to adjust your justification. All right, so this is the correct layout here. As I go around and I come back to the beginning, all I'm going to do here is enter C to close it. All right, so there's your basic building envelope. Now we want to show the finish wall. So what we could do here is if we switch layers, we're going to put all the finished walls on the A wall comp layer. Once again, if I come here to the draw panel, I want to take a look at my multi-line style. I'm going to use exterior finish. Double click to make that active. Click OK. When I come back down here to use the multi-line tool, once again, I most likely want to go in the same direction, okay, if I'm not adjusting my justification. So if I start here, you can see my exterior finish is going to be on the outside, right? And as I follow along here, I'm just going to follow that one line on the base multi-line style there, and come around, and once again, when I come to the beginning, just type C and then enter for close. And you should see you should have clean intersections just like that. Now, once you have this layout, what you'll be able to do is go back to using your construction lines to create all your openings. Let's start at the top here. You can see to find the center of the opening, we have a distance of 14 feet. So just using offset. And this is where you can really see the value of working with construction lines, right? And organizing your drawing with layers. Okay, so here I got an offset of 14 feet from left to right. There's the center of the opening. I have a 3-foot opening, so now if I offset 1 foot 6 inches to either side, to the right and to the left, that represents my opening right there. Now what I would tell you to do here is, as you add more of these construction lines, you're going to add more and more line work. It could be confusing very easily. This is one of the reasons why I have multiple construction line layers. But once you create your feature, just go ahead and delete it, all right? You don't have to keep everything there all the time. So here, if I'm going to create my opening, what I'm going to do, and it just so happens that at the bottom, right, the front door opening, it's located in the same position and it's the same width. So what I could do here is, starting with the trim command, let's select either side here as the cutting edges, then hit enter, and then one by one go to the base wall and then go to the finish wall. That's how you create your opening. We'll do the same thing down here. Start with the trim command, select the cutting edges, hit enter, and then click on each of those multi-line style walls. Okay? And this is what you'll do to lay out the rest of the floor plan. Let's go ahead and do a couple more on this side over here. We've got the center line dimension of 3 feet and 7 and 1.5 inches. So let's do that. Offset 3 feet. You can see I can just use an apostrophe. I don't need to add all the other information there. If I offset this 3 feet, then I have 7 and 1/2 inches. So here, when I offset, I have to do it like this. 7 feet, and then I have 1-1/2 inch, just like that. So this is where the notation becomes critical, right? And there we go. Now again, I can verify that, make sure it was correct, simply by measuring from intersection to intersection. And then you can see the output right here. 7 feet, 1.5 inches. Right? Check that constantly. I would avoid placing actual dimensions there. Okay? I would avoid that at the beginning. Only because you still have more information to put down, and then you're going to spend most of your time trying to move that text around. All right? So it's going to be better just to use inquiry tool. So there's the centers, and we again have openings of 3 feet. So I'm going to offset 1 foot 6 inches to the top, to the bottom for both of those. Okay, and then once again zooming in, using trim, selecting the top, the bottom, enter, and then trimming finish and base walls. Once again, trim, select those cutting edges, enter, and then create your opening. All right? So you can see if we just follow these directions step by step, we should be able to get the other openings there too. All right, so as we continue, let's take a look at the front here. Let's create the openings for the 2 windows. We got an offset here of 5 feet 6 inches from right to left. That shows the center. We have another 3 foot opening there, so if I offset 1 foot 6 inches on either side. And then we could do the same thing on this side here. So if I offset 5 feet, 6 inches from left to right, there's our center. And then I offset again 1 foot, 6 inches to the right and to the left. Now I can use those as the cutting edges. Zoom in and then go ahead and trim. So I'll come back over here, use trim, select those 2 cutting edges, hit enter, and then trim. Now you got all these extra construction lines here. This is where I would just say go ahead and select the offsets you created there, and you could remove them, just leaving the base construction lines that represent the floor plan. We've got 3 more windows on this side, so let's finish that up. I'll offset here 5 feet, and then offset again 1 foot, 6 inches to the top and to the bottom. There you go. And then once again here we've got a 7 foot offset and then a 3 foot 2 inch offset. So let's offset 7 feet from the bottom up. We'll offset again 3 feet 2 inches towards the top. And that represents the center lines there for our 3 foot openings. So once again, offset 1 foot 6 towards the top, towards the bottom, and this one towards the top and towards the bottom. Now we can trim, so enter trim command. We'll select our cutting edges, hit enter, and then trim. Come back down here, do the same thing. So we've got this as a cutting edge, cutting edge, cutting edge, and cutting edge here. Enter, and we could trim off our base and finish walls. All right, and then we could just remove that information there. So that's just the exterior building envelope. In the next video, we'll take a look at adding the interior wall, making the interior wall connections, along with the interior finish.